What's up, people? Happy 2026, because we haven't been here since 2025. Can you hear me, sir?
I can.
Oh, I
Happy
just wanted
New
to make sure
Year.
you didn't move. I didn't know if you could hear me or not. You didn't move. You didn't flinch. Your body didn't do nothing. So how are you doing, sir, on this great Tuesday afternoon?
I am busy like always. Busy like always. Um, yeah, we have a trip coming up, and I'm not even ready for that. So, yeah,
I feel like you're ready because you were talking about trying to figure out what you were going to pack based on the hat. So that's it's not
yes,
that you're not ready. It's that you just need to go pack.
that's
Baby
part of
Quake said
being
I took a
ready.
half a day because the people on my job are on my nerves. Baby, I understand. Well, I go back to work tomorrow for the first time in a week and a half because of this ice storm that we got last Sunday. So I don't have any complaints because I'm only working tomorrow and Thursday, and I'm going to be off Friday and Monday, and then I got jury duty. So look, I don't know when I'm going back to work. I don't know when I'm gonna see them. Well, I mean tomorrow, obviously, but it is what it is.
You ain't trying to work. You stealing money.
Baby, they
Steal.
done extended the grading period. The second quarter was supposed to end last Monday. They done extended it again and
You know
again
them
and
kids
again.
gonna come in there tomorrow with that makeup work. You know they're gonna come in there with
Absolutely
that
not.
makeup
My
work.
grades have been turned in
Looking
since
for
last
you to
Monday.
grade.
Oh
Baby,
well.
listen. They are looking for you to grade that stuff, buddy. Mm-mm,
Not
mm-mm.
today. Um,
Listen, I am gonna be laying in the bed, but I'm gonna be laying in the bed with a hat on. Picking out clothes is me figuring out which hats I'm gonna wear. That's my biggest thing. And really be knows. Y'all don't even see most of my hats. Most of the hats that I have, you never even see because they sit on my hat rack. But really be knows I'm probably gonna have two hats a day.
when we went to Turks and Caicos, I feel like he changed his hat 3 times a day. Like I feel like
Probably.
every time he went in his room for any reason whatsoever, he came out with a new hat on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that serious.
So you're gonna find out, Ravine. You're gonna find out. Welcome to my world.
Ciao.
With that being said, we are back for season 6 of the Teacher Project 2.0. We are glad to see you guys. We are glad that you guys are here. We know we left y'all for a while. Look, the holidays came through. Don't point at me. Don't point, and you're pointing in the wrong
You
direction.
know why? No, in my on my screen, I'm pointing in the right direction. You know why? Just like you blame me every week for about the intro, I'm gonna blame you for the fact that we don't be up here. How about that?
That's fair.
How you like me
If I'm
now?
because I am going to keep blaming you for the intro till we get one. So, do y'all see the dilemma with the Department of Education? You need to be more specific than that. Which
It's a lot.
I mean, I need you to be more specific when you say the dilemma. Which dilemma? What I'm sorry. I need more information, ma'am. Um, But let's go ahead and just jump into it. We're going to try to get you guys 4 solid stories this episode, and then you guys know El Teddy will be live at 5, and then I will be live at 6:45. So when we come to y'all with a teacher project, we got a full evening of shenanigans between the two of us to last y'all until tomorrow. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. I believe our first story is out of California. Do we want to keep up this year with our states? We didn't do it last year. Are we going to run a total this year with our states to see who gets the most stories?
I'll leave that to you, ma'am. I don't keep the running tally. That's all you. If you want to, you can, but that's all you.
Well, the first story comes out of the great state of California,
Mm-hmm.
where Gavin Newsom just be running amok, but that's another conversation for another day. All right, this article is coming. Oh, shoot. Wait a minute. Are they going to make me? Oh, no, there we go. Okay. Maybe later. Okay, there we go. All right. This article is coming out of the Guardian, and it is dated. Can I find the date?
It's dated today.
It's dated today.
I'm sorry, yesterday. I'm sorry, February 2nd. Excuse me.
Okay, it's dated yesterday. So let's get into it. California faces teacher strikes across the state for better pay and working conditions. California is facing the prospect of a massive teacher strike. over conflicts over working conditions, pay, and special education staffing reach a boiling point. The strike, which could begin as soon as next week, have been supported by thousands of educators affecting schools in some of the state's largest districts, including San Francisco, San Diego, and Los Angeles. In San Francisco, 97.6% of teachers voted in favor of a strike, setting the stage for the first such action in the city in nearly 50 years. Teachers in Los Angeles, where the LA Unified School District is considering layoffs to address its budget woes, authorized their union to move ahead with a strike. Meanwhile, San Diego educators are preparing for their first walkout in 30 years, while 5 unions around Sacramento have said they are ready to strike if necessary. The development comes just 1 year after the California Teachers Association, which represents 310,000, of the state's, sorry, my phone rang, I lost my track, of the state's educators kicked off the We Can't Wait campaign, uniting 32 districts across the state for demanding better wages, smaller class sizes, and more student resources. It's unacceptable that in the Golden State, with its vast wealth and resources, our communities struggle with fully staffing our neighborhood schools. David Goldberg, the California Teachers Association president, said in a statement announcing the effort last year. This is why educators are coordinating to take a stand statewide. Together with parents, students, and our communities, we demand that districts prioritize resources for our students and ensure California leads the country in providing a quality public education for every student. Last year's announcement cited a report with troubling stats about education in the state, including that 84% of teachers surveyed said they couldn't afford to live near their workplaces. 81% said their salaries weren't keeping up with the cost of living, and 4 out of 10 educators were considering leaving the profession. Every school district on the verge of striking in Sacramento, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego is part of the We Can't Wait collective bargaining campaign. San Francisco educators could start striking as soon as next week after more than 5,200 members of the United Educators of San Francisco voted to authorize union leadership to call for a strike. The union and the school districts have been bargaining for nearly a year, and both parties await the results of fact-finding reports this week before UESF can move ahead with a walkout, according to the San Francisco Chronicle. What comes next is ultimately up to the district and their actions, but San Francisco educators are making it clear that we are more than willing to do everything we can for our community. The USEF said. Educators in San Diego held a rally last week in what the union dubbed as our last attempt to get the district to stop understaffing special education ahead of the strike set to begin on February the 26th. The San Diego Education Association said the district has for years violated the special education staffing requirements laid out in their contract, and about 90% of members voted to strike. The San Diego Unified School District has announced schools will be closed the day of the strike. We will have an opportunity to put the eyes of the whole city on our fight to stop the special education staffing crisis in our district. All right. Yeah.
Let me start with LA. Were we not just here a year or two ago?
I feel like we were, when you sent me the article, I was like, huh? Because I feel like we were just here.
It was LA. That's over there with Alberto Cavallo, who was former superintendent of Miami-Dade County Public Schools. And remember, they went on strike for more money. But see, here's the shiggity. They went on strike for more money. Now they're claiming budget woes and are laying people off. So you agreed to pay these people extra money. Now, a year and a half later, oh, we don't have no money. We're laying people off.
Sure.
That's the foolery going on there. Now, in terms of some of the, I agree wholeheartedly with them paying people what they are owed. You know what I'm saying? There's always been gross underpayment of teachers all over the country. I'm with them 1,000%. The thing that I don't know that can get mitigated is staffing shortages, because there are staffing shortages nationwide, profession wide. People are just not going into teaching. And so I think that that's a deeper conversation that a strike just won't uh, uh, um, solve that problem, because the students are going to be there, and I just don't believe that there are enough bodies to staff like you want to. And so even if you say we're going on strike, where are the people and bodies are going to come from? Because if you pull staffing from one area in the school system to go and fill the special education understaffed areas, then that area is going to now be understaffed. And we're talking about an industry that's already having wide ranging staffing shortages and issues. So I don't know where there's a deeper conversation that needs to be had there, because something's got to give. The dam is going to break. Something has got to give. Nobody's coming in. You got fewer people coming in, more people going out, and now the people that are left are being there's a toll on them because they're being stretched too thin.
So I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. And I guess what I heard that was missing from that article, and that doesn't mean it's not a part of the issue, but it wasn't in the article, which makes me think it's not a big enough issue that it wasn't mentioned, is retention. And I feel like before the break, we did read an article about I don't remember what state, you guys, so pardon my memory, where they were talking about teacher retention. And honestly, no disrespect to people who are going into the field, who are, coming out of college and you're all gung-ho about becoming a teacher or however you're going into the profession. But I think, because I agree with what you're saying, the numbers aren't adding up with people leaving versus people coming in. But part of that problem is because I don't think school districts are putting a big enough emphasis on teacher retention. Because I think for so long, even when we had a teacher shortage, I think for so long, school districts were spoiled into, well, we can just relax the requirements and we'll get a flood of teachers, or we can just add these special programs or signing bonuses or all the different tricks that they've done in the past to bring teachers on. And none of those tricks are working anymore. And I don't think school districts are putting enough emphasis on what do we need. Thank you, Boo. What do we need to do to hold on to the teachers we have? Because again, I think they just don't care. And so now you're right. It's across the board. It's not just California. It's everywhere where teacher retention is bad. Even in places where they're paying teachers good money, they're still losing teachers. I can speak for DC. DC's pay scale is decent. And they still can't keep teachers in DC.
It's just like here in Atlanta. They have there's a district in Atlanta where first year teachers can make between 70 and 80 first year.
That's damn good, especially in Atlanta. That's damn good.
First year. And they're paying, veteran teachers well over 6 figures, and they're having staffing shortages. People just are just not going.
Yeah.
So that's why I say there's a deeper conversation that a strike is just not going to be able to answer.
Well, I agree.
Yeah. And quick, just a question: is it because I saw an article on Mother Jones about the 28 million that they feel like they spent for layoffs? Is that the article? I don't know if that was the article. I saw an article about that earlier.
It's funny. If that's the article, let me know quick. I can look now. You just sent it to me. It's funny because they did that in DC 1 year. In DC, they laid off all of these teachers because they said that it was a shortage in there was a budget shortage. There was a budget gap. And so they laid off all of these teachers in DC, but because they had to do it as a RIF, a reduction in force, and because of the way the law was written about a reduction in force, they had to give people the severance pay, and they had to give the package that they had to give all of these teachers. And most of those teachers were veteran teachers, which means they were at the top of the pay scale. And the way it was written is that for every year for every year of service, you got a year of severance. So if you have worked for 20 years, you got 20 years of pay. So they didn't save any money. And when the city council came back around, they were like, you fired all these teachers. You didn't save any money. You actually cost us more money in what we had to do legally than you saved us money. And we still ended up hiring half them teachers back. Because half the teachers ended up getting their jobs back, maybe not at the same school, but they ended up coming back into the district. Anyway. All right. Yeah, she said that's it. Texas laid off 20% of teachers in Dallas, and now they're struggling. Yeah.
I don't even see how any school district can carte blanche say 20% of their. There's no way. There's no way you can say 20% of our staff, of our faculty, not even just staff, but faculty, you're going to lay off. Nowhere. There's no place.
Yeah, I don't know where you can do 20%.
Where you can say 20% of your staff you're going to lay off. You are going to find yourself in a real problem.
Yeah,
a real problem.
What we were talking about, you guys. Quake just sent us an article about the Department of Education talking about how much money they spent on layoffs, and that's where that conversation just came from. Let's get into our next article. If we have time, Quake, we'll go back to it. If we have time, we can go back to it. If not, we can carry it over till next week, because that ain't going nowhere. That information isn't going anywhere. All right, our next article is coming from The Hill. Oh dang, that's the article you just sent me. Sorry, I'm in the wrong email. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. I'm in the wrong email. All right, here we go. Texas A&M. This is the next article. Texas A&M, this is coming from the AP. Texas A&M University to end women's studies due to new policy on race and gender topics. Okay. Changing the damn it. Sorry, y'all. Pop-ups. Changing the syllabus of hundreds of courses and canceling 6 classes as part of a new policy that limits how professors can discuss some race and gender topics, school officials announced on Friday. The change to and cancellation of courses come months after a viral video of a student confronting an instructor over her lessons through Texas A&M. Oh, God. Sorry, y'all. Pop-ups. Through Texas A&M, one of the largest universities in the country, into an upheaval. University officials tried to reassure the campus that the impacts of the new policy would be minimal, affecting only a small portion of the classes being offered, and that class cancellations wouldn't create any obstacles preventing students from staying on course to graduate. Strong oversight and standards protect academic integrity and restore public trust, guaranteeing that a degree from Texas A&M means something to our students and the people who will hire them, Interim President Tommy Williams said in a news release. That has been our focus through this process and will remain our focus as we move forward. But faculty and students, hundreds of whom gathered on campus Thursday evening to protest the change being made under the new policy, have assured Texas A&M of infringing on campus and student freedom. Did I say that right?
Infringing.
Is that what I said? Infringing? Jesus.
You said infringing.
Sorry. Listen. Sorry. Clearly, I know what the word infringe means. Anyway, they have reduced the marketplace of ideas to how emphasizing and promoting a certain view when it comes to race, gender, and sexuality. That view is quite literally erasing the experiences of people of color, the LGBTQIA community, said Leonard Bright, president of the American Association of University Professors, A&M chapter. Friday's announcement followed an extensive review by the university of 5,400 courses after the Texas A&M system regents in November had approved the new policy. Texas A&M said the 6 courses that were canceled represent only 0.1% 1% of the courses offered this semester. They include courses in the Bush School of Government and Public Service, the College of Arts and Sciences, the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and the College of Education and Human Development. The university said faculty were given the chance to request exceptions for some courses. Out of the 54 courses that were sent to Williams, he granted 48 exceptions. Texas A&M said the decision to end the Women and Gender Studies program was based in part on limited student interest in the program. A&M said Friday that Williams would not be available for media interviews. I bet. Quote, I recognize the recent Texas A&M University system policy changes have been unsettling for many, and I understand your concerns. At the same time, our shared responsibility is clear, our students, Williams said in a statement on January the 12th. The new policy appears to be the first time that a public university system in Texas has put in rules on which the faculty can talk about in their classrooms on the topics of race and gender. Other university systems in Texas have also placed restrictions on classroom instruction or have begun internal reviews of courses offering following a new state law. What say you, sir?
Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. You can go back and look at our videos going back to 2020. That was 60 years ago. 60 years ago. We were in 45's term. Before Joseph Robinette took office, we started in this same great state of Texas, where we began to talk about them ending LGBTQ plus resources, taking all of the books and hotlines and therapy or psychologist resources for that. Remember, we started talking about that in 2020.
Yeah.
And we said that as you start to erode this for one community, you're going to do it for all the communities. I don't know if I'm echoing or you echoing. Maybe I need to put on
I don't hear echo, so I'm gonna think it's you.
Okay, maybe it's just me. But the point that I'm making is okay, I don't know. Maybe it was just me. But
you
the
want
point
me to mute?
No, you're fine. I don't hear it anymore. Maybe it's just me. But the point that I'm making is this was inevitable. White women in the great state of Texas, you all overwhelmingly voted for these people. White women in the great state of Texas, you consistently voted for these people because for some reason you thought it would never come to this. You thought it would never reach your desk. And I don't know how you thought it would never reach your desk because they've been eroding women's rights in Texas with reckless abandon. But some women, and I'm not just going to put it only on white women, but some women just in general are caught in this ethos of I'm all in for the heteronormative male patriarchal society where I am subjugated to the whims of men and I am always inferior to men. And I have to, you all are in, you're in that world. You can't come out. You all are the same ones that they put on all of these news, conservative news shows, on all of the conservative news podcasts, where you all are saying women need to shut up. You need to be in the house. You need to listen to the men. We're stupid. Like y'all are doing this. So now your daughters, your granddaughters, your nieces, and so forth, they have to bear the brunt of this. And like we always say here, if you allow them to do it to one marginalized group, you've allowed them to do it to you. Now Texas A&M, remember we did the situation where they fired the professor because she refused. She was teaching a class in English and teaching about a literary piece, and it addressed the fact that there were trans women or non-binary people, and the student argued with her, and they got the professor fired, the department head fired, and the dean fired. I think didn't they eventually fire the president of the university? Like they are at, and this was all at Texas A&M University. This is happening in Texas, whether or not you want it to. And until people can stand up and say enough is enough and are willing to fight for their freedoms, fight for their rights, they're going to continue to be eroded.
So let me say this. I hope y'all understand, white women, I'm talking to you right now. I hope you understand that you're the end game. Please know that Black and brown people are the distraction. Black and brown people have always been the marginalized people in this country. Black and brown people have always been the targets, right? Y'all are the end game because ultimately it is about increasing the white population. So they don't want you in school. They don't want you to learn about liberation. They don't want you to learn about who cares about women's studies. We don't even want the women here. So, yeah, everything you just said, El Teddy, and let me just add that. I need y'all to understand. So that's why when the first, Cheeto term came around, I couldn't wrap my brain around the fact that y'all didn't see what they were doing. That's when they were, we told you again, we can go back to 2020. We told you they were going to overturn Roe v. Wade. We told you that was going to happen. We told you that what they were going to do with reproductive rights. And the fact that you elected that man in November and then decided to have a pink hat, I don't want to say the word, a pink hat protest in January, and then you didn't understand why wasn't no Black women there. What you mean? So you mad about your reproductive rights after you voted for the person who told you he was going to take away your reproductive rights? It's backwards. It's bass backwards. So you know what I mean? So it's just like, this is the end goal. Don't be surprised.
I'm never gonna get over you saying it's bass backwards.
It is bass backwards.
Sorry, let me gather myself.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, women, white women, that is why we have our teacups on the sidelines watching y'all. Because what you want us to do, we told y'all what to do. So yeah, so you don't have any women's studies down to the Texas A&M. And yes, they also got rid of LGBTQ and they also got rid of Black studies. But guess what? We already knew that. See, y'all didn't see them coming for y'all. We knew they was coming for us. El Teddy knew they was coming for the Labitiqua. I knew they was coming for the Black people. He knew they was coming for the Black people. We're not shocked. Which is why we told y'all what to do. Y'all the ones shocked right now. Mad. Anyway, anything else you got on that, or we gonna move on to the next one? Okay.
We can move on. We've seen this, and it's like I said, it's going to continue to happen. I don't see there being a stop to it. I just don't see any stop to this, and unfortunately, they have reached post-secondary education, which is supposed to be the place where you go to be enlightened, you go to learn and grow, and they have stifled all of that. We are in the authoritarian dictatorship, like it or leave it.
Yeah. Quake said they want us to come in like Captain. Okay. All right. So this is the article, Quake. So it was on our agenda for today. So this is the article, you guys. Now this is also coming from NPR. It's dated February the 2nd. And I want y'all to pay close attention to this article. This article is very important. We were just kind of talking about it a little bit, but let's get into it. The education department's efforts to fire staff cost over $28 million. A new report from a government watchdog suggests the Trump administration's efforts to fire staff at the U.S. Department of Education cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. The report from the nonpartisan U.S. Government Accountability Office focuses on the department's Office for Civil Rights, which investigates complaints of discrimination in schools based on students' sex, race, national origin, disability, and more. In March In March, the administration attempted to fire more than half of OCR's civil rights attorneys and staff. At the time, Education Secretary Linda McMahon said the cuts reflected the department's commitment to efficiency and accountability. But when that reduction in force was blocked by the courts and the Education Department was forced to retain and continue paying these staff, the department prohibited them from returning to work. For nearly 9 months, from March the 21st through mid-December, there were 247 people on administrative leave from OCR who were being paid while not being allowed to work. I'm going to say that one more time. For nearly 9 months, there were 247 people on administrative leave who were being paid while not being allowed to work. The cost of between $28.5 million and $38 million, according to GAO. How did they come to these numbers? Well, they're going to tell us. Nowicki says the Education Department did not share a complete accounting of the RIF's costs and or savings, leaving the GAO investigators to arrive at their own rough calculation using workers' salaries and benefits. The report recommends that the department do a full accounting. Kimberly Ritchie, who was appointed by President Trump to run OCR, rebuffed that suggestion in a written response on GAO's report. Ritchie argues that because the Education Department eventually rescinded its RIF notices to OCR staff and returned attorneys to active duty in December, we talked about that. I think that was the last show we did. We talked about that. That topic is mute. We do not concur with the recommendations. Wait, stop. Hold on. I know. I'm sorry. I hate to stop in the middle of the article, but so because you told her to come back to work, you're going to pretend like it never happened? All right, cool. The report points out that the department was supposed to have done this math already. Guidance from the Office of Management and Budget and the Office of Personnel Management required that the department document the full costs and savings of its staff cuts. GAO investigators write that the Education Department could not demonstrate that it included all potential costs and savings and that it had not documented its analysis. Education officials told GAO they had done the analysis but relayed its results to OMB orally. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry. El Teddy? I just got a quick question. I don't want to tell the people what you do for a living, but just on a general statement, part of your job is to collect data and create and generate reports. I know that you've gotten a couple of raises since then, but when you first hired, that was a part of your job, correct?
Mm-hmm.
To collect data and generate reports.
Mm-hmm.
Could you call your boss and just say, so yeah, that'll be 150 and 234, and then 5 people didn't show up, and we I'm sorry.
Not unless it was already in his inbox, and I was just giving him an oral recap of what was already in his inbox in writing.
Okay, I just wanted to, because I said maybe I'm tripping, because I've never been able to submit an oral report when it comes to data, and like you said, unless it's just a quick phone call. Did you get that email? Did you see that number? Okay, good. We're good. Okay. I'm sorry. Let me get back to my article, child. Let me just go on back over here. Let me get on back over here. Okay. Mind my business. All right. Ooh, okay. The department is expected to report to Congress within 180 days on whether it agrees or disagrees with the recommendation. What to do beyond that will be up to lawmakers. Well, child, we ain't got no faith in that. Every child in America should be able to get a good education no matter where they live, what their religious beliefs are, or whether they have a disability, said Senator Bernie Sanders, who requested the GAO study. Instead, the Trump administration fired half of those working to protect the civil rights of students and wasted as much as $38 million in taxpayer dollars by preventing investigators from doing their jobs. This is unacceptable. Well, that is unacceptable. The department is dismissing many cases and issuing fewer resolution agreements. According to the GAO, from March to September, OCR resolved more than 7,000 discrimination complaints, but about 90% were resolved by the department dismissing the complaint, meaning staff received information from complaints but did not proceed to investigate. Dismissals are not an immediate red flag and have been a common tool at OCR, but how common? GAO offers 2 points of comparison based on available data. In 2019 to 2020 school year, during Trump's first term as president, 81% of OCR complaints were resolved through dismissal. In 2010 and 2011, the dismissal rate was 49%. Under the Obama administration, the dismissal rate was 49% under the Obama administration, The GAO report did not provide data for other administrations. Public data tells a more nuanced story of OCR's work under the second Trump administration. After Trump's 2025 inauguration, OCR reached a resolution agreement in just two racial harassment cases the rest of the year. In 2017, the first year of the first Trump administration, it resolved more than 30. Wow. 2017, the Trump administration reached agreements in roughly 10 times as many disability discrimination cases as it did in 2025. And finally, the OCR resolved nearly 60 sexual harassment cases and 15 sexual assault cases in 2017. After Trump's second inauguration, the office did not reach a resolution agreement in a single case of school-based sexual harassment or sexual assault for the rest of the year. Quote, I'm really befuddled by that, says Beth Gelman-Beer of the Sexual Harassment and Assault Resolution Numbers. She ran OCR's Philadelphia office until it was closed in March, and she received her RIF notice. Gelman-Beer spent 18 years at OCR and says preventing sexual assault and harassment was a priority area under the first Trump administration. NPR reached out to the Education Department for a comment on the 2025 resolution numbers. They did not hear back. According to GAO's findings, which mirror previously reported by NPR, if the Trump administration is ultimately allowed to cut every OCR staffer who originally received a RIF notice, only 62 staff would remain, just 10% of the office size when the Trump administration began. So they went from 600 people to 62 people. I mean, tell me how you feel.
Well, I before I get to the monies, I want to remind people of the last couple stats that were in the article, and one talked about they all reference the difference between the first Trump administration 45 and the current administration. The first Trump administration, there were guardrails, there were things in place, there were still some people who had cognitive reasoning going on,
a backbone,
trying to run a government, and now we have people running an authoritarian dictatorship. Again, let me read these three stats. They said last year there were only 2 racial harassment cases that had a resolution agreement. 2. All last year. And last year, we're talking about disability discrimination. There were so fewer that they're saying that Trump's first year in 45, he had 10 times as many disability discrimination cases as he had last year. So let me think about that. If he had 400, which it wasn't 400, but let's say he had 400 in 2017, right? That means that there were only 40 last year. If there were all over the country, now this is nationwide. thousands of school districts. Even the sexual assault cases, they said not a single sexual assault case had a resolution agreement by the Office of Civil Rights last year. Not
Not a
one.
one.
Zero. So before we talk about the other stuff, we have to address that students are not the system hasn't worked itself perfectly, and students are no longer being racially disenfranchised or having their not having their disabilities adequately addressed and accommodated, or are no longer getting sexually assaulted. They're just not doing anything to deal with it. They don't give a damn. We're talking about children. This is the alleged pro-life people. These are the Bible toting evangelical Christians, the what would Jesus do people, and they don't give a damn about your children, whether they're being racially discriminated against, whether or not their disabilities are not being addressed, or they're being discriminated against because of their disabilities, or even whether or not children are getting sexually assaulted. And I think it's alarming that I think it's telling that you have a president who we see is all over Epstein files and is alleged to have done all types of improprieties with children. And now he has a Department of Education that has not one single case of resolving an issue of sexual assault last year. Not one. Not one. So I think, and these are children. So I think that goes to the whole notion of this is not something really that's being reported out loud. Nobody's screaming about this. This is something that is being swept underneath the carpet. Nobody's saying anything. This is not going to make major headlines, but children across this country are being assaulted, being abused, being racially discriminated against, having their disabilities not addressed, and nobody's saying anything. Nobody's doing anything. It's just like, okay, well, deal with it. And so we can talk about the 28 million that these people have wasted, but let's be clear, they're wasting billions upon billions of dollars. A few billion dollars, they sneeze at that. They sneeze and they lose a few billion dollars. I think that the more pressing issue is twofold. The thing that I talked about just now, and the fact that we have to understand that the government is and always has been the largest employer of Black people. When they talk about all of these jobs that are being lost in the federal government, by and large, there are scores of Black people losing their jobs and who are now unemployed. And I think that goes without saying. Not enough. I think the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and I think that we as Black people have not told the stories loud enough. And I know a lot of people in really B's area, in the DMV area, they understand it better than maybe
both of my parents are retired federal employees.
They understand it better than most people around the country, that we're being silent about the fact that this government, they just say, oh, we lost how many thousand government workers, but they're neglecting to tell the story that the large portion of these people are Black. Black people are losing their jobs. Black women are losing their jobs. And this is why I've always been saying we can't sit back and stay silent, because when we sit silent, that means they take it as if we don't care and they can just continue to do it. And as Black people, we've never been silent about it. So I do think that organizations like the NAACP, the Divine Nine, the Masonic organization, all of these Black entities have to start to talk about the effects that it's having on our people, specifically the attack on federal workers, which is an attack on black people, and not just even in the DMV area, because these are offices all over the country where people are losing their jobs.
There we go. I don't have anything to add to it. Like I said, I agree. We talked about this at the beginning, that's the first thing they gutted was the Office of Civil Rights. And the fact that remember that was in December where they sent that letter basically telling them to come back to work. Because basically they were so backlogged, and these are the same people that have been sitting at home getting paid to do nothing since last February. Now you're demanding that they come back to work, and it's like, we never asked to leave. But they said, but this is not a rescission of your, and that's what that article, because in the beginning they said, well, those letters don't mean we rescinded the RIF. But legally, I don't know if they could do that legally. You can't rip somebody and then make them come work and then say, but you're still riffed. Like, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. That's just not.
I think that's why they said that in the article. Like, well, we rescinded the RIFs and so they're back at work. But you only rescinded the RIFs because y'all got that backlog on y'all's desk. You know, those people still on the chopping block and they know it. They're not stupid. Anyway, well, let's get into this last article, you guys. This is from December the 10th. Like, it's a little bit of an older article, but the information is still very, very, very important. Moving federal education programs will create more bureaucracy, not less. This is in line with what we were just talking about with the Department of Education. So let's talk about it. The Trump administration has taken another illegal step in its attempt to abolish the U.S. Department of Education. The White House recently announced that several key offices and their respective functions within the Department of Education are being transferred to other federal agencies. This plan is not only wholly unpopular among the 61% of Americans who do not wish to see the department abolished, but it is unlawful, and it ignores an authority that only Congress holds to stand up or to dismantle the agency. Well, we know he don't give a damn about that. Congress, the legislative branch of the United States government, makes the laws on behalf of the American people. It established the Department of Education in federal law, which can be repealed only by another act of Congress. But since assuming office, President Donald Trump has made eliminating the department a priority through questionable legal means, including by dissolving the department via executive order and slashing its workforce. According to recent analysis by the Center for American Progress, the department's headcount has been reduced by nearly half, leaving it unable to carry out its responsibilities and statutory authorities under the law. Now, the administration is using interagency agreements intended for government agencies to partner with each other in fairly narrow and specific ways to procedural various goods or services to continue its dismantling of the department. The interagency agreements would transfer tens of billions with the B, of dollars from the education department to different agencies, which will not reduce administrative bureaucracy and result in more challenges for schools, states, and others to implement programs to fully support students. It should be noted that the administration's actions for the department far exceed prior use of the interagency agreements, or the IAAs. Under the latest maneuver, the Department of Education announced 6 new IAAs were made public in July of 2025. The 6 new agreements will move various programs to the Departments of the Interior, Health and Human Services, Labor, and State. Agencies routinely use IAAs to partner on procurement or other areas, but the broad nature of IAAs announced in November of 2025 sets a new and dangerous precedent of effectively allowing the president to eliminate entire agencies in plain contradiction of the law. Only Congress has the legal authority to make changes to federal programs at this scale, and lawmakers have expressed concerns that the IAAs violate appropriations law. Additionally, without additional funding or resources, the transfer of programs will strain the partner agencies. In some ways, these programs are being transferred to agencies without operational or institutional know-how to execute these programs according to their purpose. The haphazard and rushed way the IAAs are being rolled out is consistent with the administration's priority to attack the American education system at any cost under the guise of streaming and federal government. Moving education department programs would cause chaos for programs that serve millions of students, teachers, schools, and workers. In K through 12 education, the IAAs concerning K through 12 education will transfer 13 formula and 14 discretionary grant programs to the Department of Labor. These programs, which support efforts including literacy, instruction, charter schools, family engagement, teacher development, and school leader effectiveness, will be moved to an agency that lacks relevant expertise to guide and oversee their implementation. The affected programs are currently managed by the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education within the Education Department. Their estimated total annual funding exceeds $28 billion, which is more than double the Labor Department's annual operating budget of $13.3 billion. Wait a minute, hold on. The estimated total annual funding of $28 billion, which is more than double the Labor Department's annual operating budget of $13.3 billion. Wow. One of the programs to be transferred to the Labor Department is Title I, the formula grant that provides funding to schools in low-income communities. This program is being moved to an agency that has no experience overseeing the education of children living in poverty and improving school performance. The annual appropriation for Title I alone is $18.4 billion, surpassing the Labor Department's entire budget. The change will make accessing funds harder for school systems with a high percentage of low-income students, such as Birmingham City School District in Alabama, where more than 1/3 of its federal funding is derived from Title I. This short-sighted action by the administration will force districts to work with two federal agencies, creating more administrative burden and red tape to access necessary funds to serve students. This new process will be particularly challenging for similar districts, especially those in rural areas with limited staffing capacity. The Education Department has cited pre- and post-pandemic declines in reading and math performance in 4th and 8th grades to justify its decision. However, moving mostly academic programs that prioritize innovation and evidence-based instruction to an agency that has no relevant expertise and capacity to accelerate K-12 student learning is unlikely to improve student outcomes. Historically, OESE has made decisions on new grants awards, providing technical assistance and guidance to states on program implementation and ensuring appropriate data collection and reporting. Without OESE's institutional knowledge and expertise, districts are likely to receive improper guidance and assistance and experience delays with receiving funds. Ultimately, the Trump administration's decision will affect every district across the nation, including rural, suburban, and low-income schools. This move will undoubtedly create more government bureaucracy, which the administration has vowed to reduce. Okay. Higher education. The agreement between the Education and Labor Departments transfers a combined 50 provisions of programs and corresponding responsibilities authorized by the Higher Education Act of 1965, implicating roughly $30 billion. The Employment and Training Administration within the Labor Department, responsible with an array of activities, including job training and unemployment insurance, which will now be tasked with administering major programs to assist students and families in gaining access to financing and completing their post-secondary education. For example, the 6 separate discretionary programs authorized under HEA and known as the TRIO programs will be administered by the Labor Department. Eligible institutions of the TRIO program include entities that the Education Department is better positioned to understand, evaluate, and communicate with. colleges, middle and high schools, and nonprofit organizations that focus on college preparation and success. This will ultimately require much more government bureaucracy, not less, especially across the two departments. Other programs, including capital financing for historical Black colleges and universities, and a program that provides a quality post-secondary education to students with disabilities through technical assistance, require expertise in financing and post-secondary institutions or in serving students with disabilities that the Labor Department simply is not required to or intended to have. Another IAA and HHS will transfer the Child Care Access Means Parents in School program that provides campus-based child care service to low-income students. This move will not streamline the program because the statutory requirements include consideration of information that the Education Department produces in real time. For example, eligibility for the program is tied to total federal Pell Grants, and the amount of the grant is tied to the share of the federal Pell Grant funds awarded to the institution. Given that Pell Grants remain with the Department of Education, there likely will be an additional step for HHS to figure out whether a college is eligible for this program. With the workforce, in May of 2025, the Department of Education and Labor signed an IAA that was the stepping stone to the latest round. The IAA established a partnership between the Department of Education's Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education and the Department of Labor's ETA, Administered Career, Technical, and Adult Education Grants and Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, Title II programming through the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act. At first glance, this may seem like the transfer between the two subdivisions might make sense, but the two have starkly different objectives and authorities in terms of who they serve. OCTAE administers programs for adult education and literacy, career and technical education, and community colleges. Additionally, it oversees key grant programs established by the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Improvement Act and provides support to states to improve programs, quality, and accountability. ETA administers job training and worker dislocation services, federal grants to states for public employment, service programs, and unemployment insurance benefits, which are ultimately run by individual states and local workforce development systems. Transferring these education programs to ETA will mean the loss of expertise around program quality and education. The Education Department's expertise in academic standards and connections in post-secondary education have strengthened career and technical education and adult education programs, since ETA is focused on job training, including for workers already out of a job. This is a poor fit for CTE programs meant to prepare secondary and post-secondary students. I'm going to go to the conclusion because I think y'all get the point. Since assuming office in January, the Trump administration has continued to pursue policies that harm students and the quality of their education. The IAAs are not only illegal, they are also a misuse of funding and taxpayer dollars that will erode public trust in government and the institutions that serve the public. The transfer of key programs and operations from the Department of Education will cause dysfunction for programs that support millions of students, teachers, families, schools, adult learners, and states.
I feel like you have a lot of thoughts, ma'am.
Honestly, I don't. I mean, I don't feel like I have anything new to add that we haven't already had a conversation. It seems like they just feel like anything that has the word education or training in it is labor, and they can move it. And it does not understanding the objective, not understanding what the reason for it is, not understanding why the program was even developed. You guys know, I've told you guys a million times before, I'm Title I. My job, I get paid out of the Title I budget for my school. And I met with my Title I person before the holiday, and they don't even know if any of them are going to have a job. The whole Title I office, they don't know, because they don't know if we're going to get any Title I money. You know? And so, am I going to get fired? No, I'm not going to get fired. They'll just move me. They'll have to move my line item of my salary onto the budget But what might happen is somebody else might lose a job or have to be transferred to another school. Or hell, they might transfer me to another school. You know what I mean? Because it's it's crazy. Um,
Um,
I got nothing. I'm sorry.
I think that we've always talked about George W. Bush being one of the most consequential presidents with regard to education.
Mm-hmm.
With the Nickelby and or No Child Left Behind, I should say, and
Yeah.
IDEA and so forth. That pales in comparison. And I know it really be, if you could put that article in the chat, I know really be read a lot, but that article is jam-packed with so many different portions of education. You're talking everything from Title One. You're talking uh, uh um even school administration, things like that, that's in there. You're talking about different programs that went over there that dwarfed the whole Department of Labor budget, that dwarf the Title One by itself is more than the entirety of the budget of the Department of Labor. They don't even have the staff to do this. They don't have, like, this right here. What is scary and alarming about everything that we read is that not a single, I shouldn't say nobody, but I have not heard a single person get on the floor of Congress and say this is illegal. This is not how we appropriate it. The Department of Education. I've not heard things coming out of the House or the Senate Committee on Education. I've heard nothing coming from this leadership on the Democratic side. You all are weak and feckless, to say the least, but they are willfully violating the law because Congress did not appropriate funds this way, and they're just saying we're going to do it anyway. They don't have the balls to do anything to stop us. They're not trying to stop us. They're not even letting the American public know. They're not even letting school systems and school districts know what's going on. They're just doing it. You find out when you send up paperwork or documentation to do so. Oh no, we don't have none of that no more. That's not over here no more. Go over there, and you're going to go over there, and they're going to say, yeah, we don't really know how to do this. We have no clue how. They are doing everything to just erode all confidence in the federal Department of Education. So that way, when everything is in chaos, disarray, topsy-turvy, it gives them the backing to go to Congress and the American public and say, yeah, we just need to do away with it because none of this stuff is working anyway. When you cause the problem, like when as Really B was going through those things, I'll even go back to just a few in the very first part of K through 12, where she talked about all of these programs. We're talking literacy instruction. That's all the programs that involve reading coaches and supplementary reading courses and classes that they have in middle schools and high schools. Charter schools would go under the Department of Labor. And we know that's already a shit show, excuse my French. And they're moving that over there. Family engagement. That and Really B knows those are those programs where you have a liaison that works for the school system that goes to visit homes and do all of that work there. Teacher development. So now we're talking professional development courses. No longer under the Department of Education. These are all the things that they're moving. School leader effectiveness. And that's just a handful of things with out of a bevy of things. This is scary. This is quite alarming and not anything is being said about it. And this all being done under the cloak of darkness, because it's not the flashy, or it's not the popular thing to talk about the Department of Education. But this is going to have so many sweeping effects on K through 12 education, as well as higher post secondary education, that I'm truly afraid for. When they said that they were going to gut the Department of Education, they meant that, and they are doing that with an alacrity that I don't think any of us saw coming. At least not at this level. Um, yeah, it's and Congress isn't saying anything. The media isn't saying anything, but you got us. We're saying something about it, so that you all can be aware. You may have children, grandchildren, family, friends, nieces, nephews, god kids, and different, that are in school. And this is you have to understand that as things begin to crumble, and you go to the school and asking, why is this a problem? It starts from the top.
Mm-hmm. And again, it goes back to what I was saying. The goal is they don't want us in education. They want to make education an elitist thing, that going back to going back to the early 1900s, late 1800s, where the only people who really were exposed to education were rich white men. I mean, women weren't allowed to go to school past a certain point, if they were allowed at all. Black kids weren't allowed to go to school, if they were allowed at all. And for most part, schools that existed, there was a tuition. So if you were poor, even if your parents were willing, that you still couldn't go. So again, it's back to what they want for us. It's not an accident, you guys. They wrote it in this little document called Project 2025. Maybe you heard of it. And what's the other one? El Teddy, Phoenix, the Phoenix.
Yeah, we talked about Phoenix.
Yeah, we talked about that as well.
2026 as well.
Yeah. So, well, you guys, listen. I put that article in the link. I put that link in the chat. Again, I appreciate you guys for being here. We took a little break, okay, but we are back. We are back like we never left. Okay, hold on. Markel has a quick question. Not Markel, Logan Coleman. Okay. What is being taught in school now when it comes to Black history? It's like how we were in school, or has the main people been erased? So that's a state by state, county by county answer. Ultimately, I mean, is Black history still being taught in schools? Yes. Is there a curriculum? Some school districts have a curriculum. Some school districts don't. Like in my school district, we have African American studies, but it's an elective. So outside of whatever your teacher decides to infuse in the curriculum, there's no set across the board curriculum for African American studies. And under this new, I'm sorry, let me just finish this. And under this new administration, with the elimination of DEI and all these other things, it's certainly not encouraged in a lot of the, red states and, red leaning states. Go ahead.
There are absolutely places across this country, certainly many of them south of the Mason-Dixon line, where guidance is being sent out. And I've seen the emails. People have sent me the emails where they are being told, you are not to put up anything on your walls referencing Black History Month. You are not to have anything in your lesson plans that involves that. If you do, you could have disciplinary action taken against you. And that is coming from school districts because they are being pressed by their state departments of education. And so that's a real thing, where there are students that are now no longer being taught. And in large cities where you have large Black populations, that is happening. In a lot of the blue states, it's still going on. But you got to think, I know I saw emails out of Florida, and I'm sure there's probably similar things out of Texas, because with the same thing there, where you can see things across the country. I saw an article about something similar in Arkansas, where that's happening. I know in a state like Tennessee, you know, where they have really been out of order with regard to their education department. But it just depends, like really be said, it's on a state by state scenario. But it is a scary time for teachers who may want to do what they've always done in terms of Black history instruction and being told that they outright cannot in a school full of Black kids.
Yep. So again, you better go on and get your education and share it with your churns. With that being said, El Teddy will be live at 5 o'clock ish. It's Wednesday, so you guys know it's a Twitch only stream.
No, today is Tuesday.
Gosh, why do I think today is Wednesday? I'm sorry, my bad.
Don't do that. Listen, I need
Would you say you need that day?
I need
Look, me
that.
too.
I need this day. Don't
Me
do
too.
that.
Because I'm
Ooh.
leaving. I mean, I literally leave from work on Thursday, so I really only have tonight and tomorrow night, and that's a wrap for me. So trust me, I need what I need too. My dinner should be here in a few minutes, so I'm about to eat dinner, and then I'll spend the rest of the evening before I go live, getting myself together, packing a little bit, and that kind of thing. All right, you guys. So at 5 o'clock, we'll be over at El Teddy's house, and then we'll be in my house at 6:45. If you are going on the cruise, I've already put the link in the chat. We will be having a final cruise check-in at 8 o'clock. The video is unlisted, so you need the link in order to be able to access the video. So if you are not in the group chat, you need to let me know. At this point, I think everybody is that's going on the cruise, but if for whatever reason you're not, let me know. With that being said, El Teddy, you have the final word.
Final word. Stay vigilant, y'all. Stay on top of this stuff. We'll be here to give you all everything we can.
I'm hitting the button now, sir.